This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to dunk. This is Lee Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down to dunk.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm going to share with my team, but I'm going to hog most of them.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, never, ever, on a Wednesday night, I've got Alex Spears and Michele Berra on the same pod. What's up, guys?
Wow.
It's great. I mean, my voice is not normal yet because I'm awake for like 25 minutes. But hey, it's great to be here.
This was demanded by at least one person.
At least one person really wanted this, so I decided to try to make it happen. Especially with Media Day Monday, I knew that I was not going to do a normal podcast Monday, and so I was like, man, I got to get Michele back in the mix here. I got to get Alex in the mix. It's like, why don't we just do a joint pod, do some bold predictions, see what we can cook up here with all three of us on a podcast. So here we are, and we got a trade, guys. We got a trade.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, the Thunder traded Vít Krejci to the Atlanta Hawks. They got back Mo Harkless, maybe. Mm-hmm. Definitely they have him now. I don't know if he will be on the roster. I would bet that he won't. But they also got back a 2029 second-round pick, and they amended their 2025 pick that they received, which is it's now top 40 protected. It was top 55 protected. So they essentially got 2 seconds, maybe, for Vít Krejci, and they took on $3 million, which helped the Hawks get below the luxury tax. So it is a dorky deal if you're excited about it, and it's a deal that will likely not impact your Thunder viewing at all going forward. But, to get essentially 2 picks for a guy that they were almost undoubtedly going to waive if they didn't find a trade for him. Hey, it's fine. It's a good deal. Thoughts?
Yeah, I almost feel like it was worth more than that because it sounds dumb because it's like it's Vít Krejci. Like, why would that be worth a lot? But getting out of the tax this year, it could be potentially worth like an extra $14 million at the end of the season.
True.
So that is like a huge move for Atlanta. Mm-hmm. They're going to essentially be able to pay for one of their mid-level contracts with whatever they get at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Just pretty sweet deal. Arguably worth more than a couple seconds.
Yeah, for them for sure. I think that the leverage was not huge for Presti because, I mean, $5 million is not a huge amount of money that you have to shed in order to duck below the tax. But still, basically what OKC did was getting a chance to draft the new Vít Krejci with the 2025 pick, because if I'm not mistaken, it was pick 43 or something like, or 37, something like that.
37.
Yeah. So in that range, I think that Atlanta will probably be in that range moving forward, and then they get an extra one. So I mean, it's a fine deal. I don't know if Harkless will ever play. He will probably be, I don't know, dealt before the season start,
Traded
or just get the
or
Ariza.
or just waived. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are either of you disappointed in that they could have kept Krejci? They could have done Ty Jerome, Derek Favors, Teo. Would that have been your preferred? If we're just talking about who you're cutting, who you're keeping,
I just don't know that there's minutes on the wing this year.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play Jang any minutes at all, then there's just no way.
But Andrew, I sent you that screenshot of that guy on Twitter. Said he was a backup point guard.
There's no
What?
minute for that either.
Why couldn't he play backup point?
Yeah, there's just no minutes for him. And as we get closer to all this, I'm almost fully convinced they're going to keep Favors. So
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that they will still waive Theo. I mean, I was doing math in my head yesterday, preparing for the pod. And I mean, if you account for 27, 28 minutes for Treyman, which I think it's going to be around this range, 32, 33 for Lou, Shea, Giddy, there's
J-Dub.
barely space for Wiggins, J-Dub, and Kenrich.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not
So-
minutes unless Teo wants to play on the blue. There's not real minutes to be had there.
Yeah.
A funny moment of media day. Teo was asking somebody in the hallway if he could get a tour of the arena. He had never seen the club level, and was really wanting to see the club level. Just like,
Wow.
you better go see the club level now, Teo, because you may not have a chance much longer to check that out. But
And I guess for making deals, it's more helpful to have Favors contract to trade.
it's a $10 million expiring deal, which is helpful for trade. And I'm a little surprised. I know he was good in the locker room last year. Cool. It's great. He's been kind of great for guys this summer. I mean, he was in Vegas. So I was down underneath the tunnel waiting for players to come and talk. Derek Favors walks by wearing big old Tim Duncan sized jeans. He's around. He didn't have to be in Vegas at all. Didn't have to be with the team. Chose to be with the team, wanted to be there, looking like a big giant Dort. He wanted to be there. So I think they see him as not only a good $10 million expiring deal, but a guy that can be a good veteran presence. And also they need a center. They need a big guy to play. I would not be shocked to see Favors start night one for this team. It's not really what I would want, but I would not be surprised by that. So I think the Chet injury certainly has something to do with it, because Chet was going to soak up a majority of those minutes at center. Now you don't have that. I think that Favors is going to stick around at least for the season. Maybe he gets traded at the deadline. Maybe you can use that $10 million expiring contract, like you said, to help some team. But I don't know. I think that Favors will stay. I think Ty Jerome is essentially gone. I mean, that was decided really by his representation. Veet's gone. I think Harkless is gone. So, yeah, I think that we're probably down to Teo getting cut, and that'll be it.
Shout out to Thunder fans. I didn't see any tweets breaking down how Mo Harkless was going to fit in on the team. I was really proud of everyone.
I know. Yeah. Harkless, I've tweeted this. He can be some team's ninth man.
Yeah.
Just not here. He can go play for the Kings again. He was pretty good for the Kings.
Yeah. Or the Clippers.
Yeah,
The
some
Clippers,
team. Yeah, the Clippers are kind of stacked though. The Mavericks.
Maybe. Yeah, a team like that. I mean, for Favors, there's also opportunity. He'll have time on the court to show that he's still okay as a NBA role player. I think that he can be much better as the ninth man, 10th man, like the third big man. on a good team. I think he can provide 10, 15 minutes of decent basketball. And so, I mean, Horford did it. I mean, he rejuvenated his career here. So I think that for Favors makes sense to say, hey, let's give it a try. I will not be too good, but so it makes sense for all parties involved.
Yeah. Media day was Monday. Any takeaways that you guys had from that day? Alex, I know you just love media day. It's just your favorite day of the year. You love positivity.
I mean, I loved your favorite cereal just getting crapped on over and over again nonstop. That was awesome. That was probably my favorite part of the podcast. Just listening to every single guy just be completely disgusted. They'd never even tried it. Just disgusted by the idea of Cracklin' Oat Bran. They were hating on the way it looked, the name, like everything about it. They were just putting down, and I really enjoyed that part of it.
That was really funny. That was easily my favorite part of the day was when Kenrich asked me if I was a big Oat Bran guy. You big Oat Bran guy?
But I would say the biggest thing that stood out was Shea. And first, I would just want to say, like, Shea is, I'm always just like super impressed by how charismatic he is. Like, he could have come into that interview and just been like super boring stock answers, but like you could tell he was engaged in the conversation when he was answering those questions. And like, it's not a huge ask, but most athletes wouldn't do that. And I just like really appreciated it. Like, it's incredibly easy to root for a guy who sounds like that in a conversation, who's like willing to engage with this guy who he has no idea who you are, Andrew, you know, like he doesn't know what down to dunk is, but he came to that interview and was like honestly answering all of your questions.
Yeah.
And the best answer was you asked him what he did, like what he worked on this summer, which so many times that gets answered by guys by saying, oh, you know, everything basically. You know?
I would not let Dort answer it that way. I was waiting for guys to answer it, like, don't. But most guys actually answered it in an honest way. But yeah, go ahead.
But Shea, his answer was like the most interesting answer because he could have said anything. And he said off ball. He's been working off ball, which is the thing that we've been talking about for months now. Wouldn't it be nice? Like, we know he's really good on ball, but what if, because it makes more sense that he would be better off ball than Josh would be, at least in the immediate future. What if he could develop that part of his game? That would be incredible. And that's the first thing he brought up. So I thought that was like a huge thing to get you excited about this season.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. That part was kind of, I mean, the beauty of it is that Andrew didn't have to go there. Like, he didn't ask him to, hey, what about the pairing with Giddy, off ball, on ball? No, he just went there by himself. And so that is really important. I think that Shea, I mean, you're right, Alex. He's great. Like, it's just such an interesting interview, and that part was impressing. I also have to go on Brandon saying that Lou Dort was. I mean, come on, Lou. And also Trey Mann. I mean, everyone was super duper excited about Trey Mann. I know that everyone was super duper excited about Roby, but Roby got better from year 1 to year 2. So
shout out to Roby.
He was better. I mean, the first year was, hey, can he play? Second year, yes, he can play. He can also win us 2 games, which is terrible in retrospect. But he did that. So, I mean, I'm quite excited by Trey Mann. But yeah,
he legitimately does look different. Like, there's so many times when these media day photos come out and guys say like, oh, I put on 20 pounds or whatever. Like, the photo of Zion where he legitimately looks like a completely different person. And then the photos of Trey Mann, those were the two that stuck out. Like, okay, those are like different guys than they were the last time I saw them.
Yeah. I stood next to Trey a couple times, and he looks definitely bigger. He looks, I mean, last year he looked like a kid.
He did. He looks so tiny.
And this year he I don't know how he did it in such a short amount of time, honestly. But he does look quite a bit different. And I also heard from other people, not in interviews, but just in conversations I was having with people around the arena, that not only does he like physically look different, and Muscala talked about how he had a dunk on him, but I've heard he's like been flying in for offensive rebounds during pickup games. Like he's super aggressive, finding his shot and going for the basketball. I mean, there's been a noticeable difference in what he's done on the court, just in the way that he plays the game, that has a lot of people excited around the Thunder. So now who knows? Does it translate to real basketball games? I don't know. I don't know if it does, but at least right now, like, he's putting in the work. And then Mark Degnault's answer yesterday at practice was pretty telling. And it was really funny because he was very open and honest. I don't actually even know why he gave me such a long answer, but he said that during the draft process, he kind of questioned whether Trey had it in him to be this kind of player this early. He honestly thought he didn't have it in him to do this. And I would have kind of agreed, because at the beginning of last year, the way that he started, the commentary a year ago was Trey Man can't get his shots off against NBA length.
Yeah.
That's what was happening. So it's like, oh no. I think Mark felt the same way. Like, wasn't defending well and couldn't get the shot off against NBA. But what he did was he's just like really worked and has really been working since then. And I think that he's not only looked good on the court, but he's impressed people with just the way that he competes off the court and the way that he is adding to his game. I think that it's commendable. I hope that it translates for him. He's a really good guy. And I think that there's a good chance that Trey is really good this year, and could be one of those pieces to one of the Thunder teams that actually competes. But that's probably getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yes. I think that last season, though, has already shown something. Like, as you mentioned, at the beginning, he was not playing at all, then playing sparse minutes, then playing regular minutes, and at the end of it, he was like owning entire quarters of basketball. Like, it's not a common thing to improve that much in a season. We'll see. I mean, Summer League was very disappointing because I expect him to go for him to go like berserk and just own games and whatnot. He didn't do that. But I think
shots. His handle was off. It was weird.
Yeah.
He was coming off of COVID, but like it was bad. It was just he's just not in a rhythm at all. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was. So I'm very, very curious to see how it goes.
And I think with him putting on weight, like the thing that I think it was Muscala mentioned it, was just his finishing and getting to the rim, which, like, if he didn't put on this weight and just came in as mostly the same player, we would have still been excited because the step back we already saw, like, it's there. It's basically a finished product. We could see him getting better from three, but I was always going to have those questions about, like, can this dude do anything else? Like, is he able to get to the rim and actually finish against NBA strength? And him adding that weight, putting on that muscle, and then based on what Muscala told us, like, that's like the final piece for me with Trey Man, at least offensively.
Yeah.
Like, if he can finish at the rim just at like an average rate, like, I'm so much more excited about him because he has it looks like he has everything else. But that was the one piece where I was like, I don't know the way he looks right now, how he's ever going to fix this. He's going to have to become so crafty to finish at the rim. Whereas now, at least you believe, well, maybe he can take some contact going forward.
Yeah, and he was 53% at the rim last season. And if he can be upper 50s, low 60s, then it's like, oh, okay. Like, this is a really good player.
Yeah.
Because we know he can shoot. We know that he can shoot the basketball. It's just a matter of what else can he do? And can he finish from mid range? He was only from 3 to 10 feet, only 39%.
Yeah.
He's got to get better there too. But yeah, I think there's a case to be made that this could be, the sixth man of the future for the Thunder is kind of like the hopeful role. I think whenever he was drafted, I think this is the kind of what they envisioned, is him being a guy that's just like a microwave scorer off the bench.
And then the other thing for Media Day that I thought was most interesting was it basically being confirmed that like Josh Giddey is the reason they brought in Chip England. Because I mean, we assumed that,
Yeah.
but the fact that Josh came out and said, "Yeah, I'm like working out with him 2 to 3 times per day," and then you talking to other players, and they either like having to remember his name or like, "Oh yeah,
It
I've
was
met
like,
him," but
ooh, and I was a shooting coach. He's like, yeah.
like that actually makes me feel good because it's like they brought him in for Josh Giddey.
Yeah, he's worked with Josh and with Lou, the two guys that they've worked with so far. And I asked Josh about it yesterday, just what he's been working on. He's like, just like little things and like hand placement. Actually had a shooting coach on that talked about this with the thumb on the Dream Team show. And this is like the exact thing that Josh was talking about. So you should go listen to that podcast. It was from like maybe a month and a half ago. But it was like one of the tweaks that he would have made was that how he uses his thumb when he's shooting. And Josh mentioned that yesterday. I was like, oh, well, there you go. That's pretty interesting.
Which is not a little thing. I mean, if you're shooting with your palm instead of with your fingers, that makes a huge difference in terms of direction, rotation, and stuff like that. So, and yes, it's a little thing, but it's also one of the most important. I mean, I remember when I followed my home team here, there was this coach who was coaching his son, and he was just yelling at him all day. You're shooting with your palm. You should move your thumb beneath the basketball a little bit more. And so these things are actually extremely important. So yeah, it's good to hear that they are already working on those little things.
Yeah, he's working part-time, basically working part-time for the Thunder as essentially Josh, like, let's make Josh Giddey good. Like, that's like what his job is, which is, it's great. I mean, it shows that the Thunder are willing to invest resources into these players to make them their actualized self if they can get there. Now, it doesn't guarantee anything for Josh, especially for this season, because sometimes these you do to your shot can actually make you work initially, just because he's so used to shooting the ball a certain way. So to start the season, I wouldn't expect him to just be lights out. I think there's a chance that he was like, oh my gosh, like Josh Giddey through 10 games shooting 23% from three. Like, what is Chip England even doing? I think you have to keep in mind that like it's definitely a process. And to think of like players that you wish would have, taken like more shooting instruction, like take Russell Westbrook for instance. Like, I think Russ, by the time that he was good enough and was like, a guy that was making all-star teams, all NBA teams, you ask him like, hey, let's tweak your shot so that you can get a little bit better. Be all NBA. Like, I'm not tweaking my shot. I'm not going to change anything now.
Yeah.
Because they know that there's like this period where things might get worse. Like, why would I do that for any period of time? So I think that is something just to keep in mind, is that there's a chance that perhaps this looks a little bit worse to start with Josh and then gets better. Maybe it's all great from the beginning and Josh is like a crazy fast learner. I don't know. But I would just say, like, just be aware that like there's a process involved with stuff like this, that it could take some time. But hopefully it'll pay dividends to where he's at least like a 35% three-point shooter. If he's that, then I think that like he's a true offensive weapon.
Was there anything else from Media Day that maybe some behind the scenes, Andrew? Anything you can tell us? Secrets?
Secrets. I don't know if there's any like secrets. J-Dub was super cool. He's like this whole day, guys are just kind of rushing around, trying to get from station to station. We got to take pictures here. We got to do video here. We got to talk to the radio stations. We got to do this. We got to go talk to the media in the big room. We got to do all this stuff. Like, let's get it done as quick as we can. J-Dub, after the podcast was over, just kind of sat there. And he's just like chatting with me. And there's somebody that works for the Thunder that's in there too. And like, he's just chatting with us. We're talking about a little bit about cereal, a little bit about other stuff. And that's when I like picked up the box. I was like, "You're still here. Will you take a picture with this Cracklin Oat brand?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." He was great. He was awesome. I mean, honestly, all the guys that came through were really great. I I stopped Lindy. Lindy was the first one that came in, and then when he was walking out. I think did I tell the story on the podcast whenever my son stopped him and told him that he was their second favorite player? I don't know. If
Really?
I think I know the story, but I don't know if you.
I can't remember if I told him the podcast or not. But anyways, I asked Lindy. I was like, "Hey, do you remember a kid coming up to you at the Edmond Rail Yard telling you that that you were his second favorite player?" And he started laughing. He was like, "Yes." I was like, "That's my son." So he was like, "Oh yeah, tell him I said hi." So
I also, I mean, Jay Will seems like an awesome guy, and his
Yeah.
story was definitely the best.
yeah,
Like just a random story. That story about his dad,
yeah,
like popping his shoulder back into place and then jumping right back in to
You're like,
defend his son.
yeah.
What a badass thing to like imprint in your child's
I
mind for the
know.
rest of their life.
I know. Isn't that awesome? That was
Like I almost
It's
want to
too high of a
fake it.
standard, though. Like,
Well, what if
how
you
can
just
it be a
faked
dad
it?
now?
I think you could fake it and then just as long as they believe that your shoulder really popped out, and then you do
Yeah.
some move on the wall. That's all you need.
yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
do it when my son's like 5, so it's easier.
So you
to
can't
trick him.
tell if you really popped it.
Yeah.
I walked by Jay Will in the hallway later. I was running to grab something to eat, and I was running back and past Jay Will in the hallway. And I was like, "Hey, come back and get some Cracklin Oat brand." He just yelled at me, "Hell no!" And that was it. So
It was so funny when you offered Muscala the box first,
yeah,
because you made it sound like you were like doing him a favor. Like, no, I'm serious. I am willing
will.
to give you this box. I
Can I
will.
$4
Just
box
imagining
cereal.
this like millionaire.
basketball
This
player.
guy's desperately trying to give you a box of cereal.
he did want it. But the thing, I mean, really, all I'm trying to do is just give me a reason to razz Mike Muscala the next time I see him. So it's working out perfectly. That's all it was for.
Anything else, or do you want to get to bold predictions?
Yeah, I mean, Shea, confirming that he wants to be here, that he
Oh yeah, you're
likes
getting a lot of engagement on that, Andrew.
playing with. I mean, it's just, to me, it was my mission. Whenever I called Dane in to do video,
Big D, getting married.
this was my congratulations on your marriage, Dane. Whenever I called Dane to come shoot video, that was my mission, and I was taking a calculated risk that no one was going to ask that question in the main room, because if it's asked in the main room, then everybody gets that content anyways. Then it's just like, great, Andrew, good job. You asked a question and got an answer that was already given,
Right, yeah.
So whenever he went in the main room before he came and did the Down to Dunk interview. And so I was in the clear there. And so then I just needed him to answer it, honestly, and give me some substance to it. Like, don't say, "Oh, I don't really pay any attention to that kind of stuff, and I'm just going to play basketball." And,
Yeah.
didn't want that answer, but he gave about as honest of an answer that you could hope for.
Yeah.
Where he's saying, like, I knew what I signed up for. I didn't sign up to lose. I don't think we're going to lose for that much longer. I like the group. I believe in this team. It's like, great. Check. Great. Thank you. That was kind of what I was hoping for. So yeah, I thought that part went about as well as I could have hoped for with the way that he answered the question.
It's too bad you couldn't have, if it was a day later, you could have followed up with the bombshell TSN.ca report that came out that the Raptors are monitoring his situation.
As they should, honestly,
Everyone
as they
should.
should.
Yeah.
New Orleans should as well. Dallas should as well be monitoring. Here's the deal: everybody's monitoring his situation. I mean, everybody can put out that report today. Great, good job. Everyone is monitoring every losing team's best player situation. Last year, the Atlanta Hawks were monitoring DeJounte Murray's situation, and they found out that great, we can trade for him.
Yeah.
I don't think that will be the case with Shea. I do think Shea is a part of the long-term plan of this team. But if they're still in the lottery in 2 seasons, then it's worth Toronto's time to monitor the situation. Because if they're still in the lottery in 2 seasons, then they probably need to trade Shea. And they probably need to reevaluate what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, it is why San Antonio pulled the trigger now, because they are not 1 or 2 seasons away from being relevant again. I think talent-wise, they are like lacking. So it makes sense for them to say, hey, we have Josh Primo, we have a bunch of young guys here. We need to get very, very good players. And with DeJounte here, there's no way we are the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And we need to be that. So I think that the Thunder were lucky enough and they handled things well enough so that they got the number 2 pick. And that makes a huge difference. And they already have part of the infrastructure ready. So you can see OKC being relevant, and how relevant will actually depend on how Chet is good, how the next year pick will be. And so, but you can have in your head, hey, if these 2 players are very good, OKC has a chance to be in the playoff, and maybe at the top of the, not top, no, but in the relevant part of the playoffs.
And Shea said
with San Antonio
Shea said that he didn't think they'd be losing for much longer. I don't think that means this season. I don't think that means that they're going to win this season. I think
this is also telling. You're right. I mean, much longer. It's he could have said, "Hey, we're not going to lose anymore.
Yeah, we're going for the play-in this year, or we're going to win more games than people think this year." He didn't say that. I do think that there is a healthy amount of pressure that will build for the 23-24 season.
Yes.
And I think that there will be, whether or not it's warranted, there will be pressure on that season for the Thunder to be good, not only from fans, people watching them, I think from the players too. Like the players are going to want to start to win games. That'll be Josh's 3rd season. Like I don't think they can just sit back and just hope for another lottery pick that year. I do think that there'll be a healthy amount of pressure. Well,
it's the same as what we're seeing with Detroit right now. I mean, Detroit has won 63 games total over the last 3 seasons, 2020 and 23. Like they should be good. If they're bad again, that matches what the Sixers went through. 4 straight seasons being like around 20 wins or less.
Yeah.
So like you should have that kind of pressure by year 4. And we saw what happened with the Sixers. Like when you don't meet that pressure, like by year 4, things start like blowing up. And we'll get to my bold predictions, but that's going to come back for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, I think they'll be better. I don't think they're going to make the play-in or anything this year, but this is where like with Detroit, you can see like they need Jaden Ivey to be good. You know, they need him to not just be some run-of-the-mill player. They need him to be good to get out of this because they already whiffed on the Killian Hayes pick.
Yeah,
if you whiff on Killian Hayes and Jaden Ivey's just like an average player, then you're in kind of a tough spot. And the Thunder are lucky in a lot of ways. They're lucky that Shea has been as good as he is. They're lucky that I don't think they whiffed on the Giddey pick. they're going to need Chet to be healthy, and they're going to need to hit on 23. And really, if really one of those works out, then I think you're in a good spot. But you need at least one of those to really work out. And like right now, it's unclear. Obviously 23 is unclear, but it's even unclear what, where Chet is. There's a lot of optimism still around Chet. I heard somebody say that Chet's going to have the best one-legged turnaround jumper in the NBA because that is literally all he's doing right now. So look out for that weapon. But it's it's going to be interesting to see where the Thunder are a year from now, going into it, because this is where Detroit is. And like Detroit, after looking, kind of digging through their numbers and everything, it's like, man, there's an awful lot of unknown in Detroit still. And they've already kind of been through it a little bit. Okay. I don't really have anything else from Media Day. It was a great day. Extremely thankful to be able to do that. If you guys haven't listened to those interviews yet, I encourage you to do so. I put all of them up on YouTube today. So go watch them or listen to the podcast or both. That would be great. Send those YouTube videos to your friends and stuff too. Spread the word on those. That would be great. But let's get to some bold predictions. Let's start with Michele. Michele, you got a first bold prediction?
Mine will be, as always, lukewarm takes. Not really bold, but anyway.
Okay.
I obviously
these
have
on a spicy scale. So
these are, I don't know, chili, not habanero even. Like it's
okay.
I don't know.
What's that?
Chili something.
What's the spicy chip called? The people like the spicy chip challenge. You know what I'm talking about?
A ghost pepper.
Well, there's like a individually wrapped chips. You seen these?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called. Anybody in the chat, let us know what they're called. I don't know what they're called. But spicy chip will be the spiciest. And then we can get like a habanero, ghost pepper, jalapeno, or no spice.
Bale.
I had a jalapeno when I was in Texas 3 weeks ago. It was unbelievably spicy. I mean, usually I just eat them like it's nothing, and I made a very well. Anyway, it was a bad lunch.
Great Babe says it's Pocky.
One chip challenge. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my first take is about Josh Giddey.
Okay.
Giddey will post at least 10 triple doubles next season and 25 or more double doubles. I went through the ranking, and Josh was at 4 last season. The top of the cream in the league is 10 or above, and I think Josh will be there. I will also be top 5 in triple doubles and top 20, top 15 double double next season.
Okay, that's a jalapeno take. I think that Josh
really,
it's
not easy to get to 10.
Easy. Josh led the team in rebounding last year.
Yeah,
I think he'll probably do the same this year.
Here's what you got to do, Michele, because I have a take that's very similar to that, but I added a little bit of extra spice. Josh Giddey will lead the league in triple doubles.
That's too spicy. I mean,
but here's the case. So last year, first of all, Russ is like done with putting up tons of triple doubles, so we don't have to worry about him.
Though.
So Jokic led the league last year. He had, I believe, 16 or 19.
Yeah,
I think it was 16.
16.
So Jamal Murray's coming back, going to steal, just a couple assists per game. Okay, Michael Porter Jr. going to steal just a couple rebounds per game. It's going to be the difference between Jokic having 16 triple doubles and Jokic having 12 triple doubles, which is what he's more been around the previous years. 16 was his career high. Yeah. So I just think it comes back by a few. So now we're like in range where if Giddey puts up just double-digit triple double, he's going to be within a couple of the league leader. I don't think it's crazy to imagine he could be like within within 2 or 3 of a leader. And if he's there, then I have to go bold and say he's going to lead the league.
Yeah, I think he could have 2 or 3, but before Shea gets back, just because.
Yeah, there you go.
In 6 games, that is a 440 pace.
That's what he is. That's what he is. That's what he does. And he has. We're assuming. Okay, I'm going to go to my second bold take because it's related.
Okay.
OKC will finish top half in 3-point percentage.
Whoa. Okay. That is
Okay.
Pocky. That is like 2 or 3 Pockies.
Okay, here's
Explain.
the case.
I don't understand.
First of all, top half just has to be 15. Okay, so 15.
I know. Yeah.
All right.
That's still
Okay, all right. So we saw some things happening towards the end of last year that make me feel better. Bays started taking way less threes than he ever had before. Okay.
Okay.
He's not going to be taking as many threes. Shea had an abnormally bad 3-point shooting season. If he bounces back next season, let's say he's shooting 38, 39, he's going to be taking some of the one of the most threes on the team. That's going to help out the percentage. Lou Dort,
And
I'll be honest,
Stop
is
there
a
for a
huge
second on Shea,
what?
please.
What?
So you're thinking that he will be 38, 39 again on that volume?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
That
said
is
he worked off.
quite spicy by itself. I'm
but
not that high.
I'm counting in way more off-ball threes, like catch and shoot threes, than what he was doing last year, which is just taking goofy threes for like half of the season.
Okay.
I think it's totally reasonable. Admittedly, Dort is a swing player, but for Dort, what I'm betting on is him taking just a few less threes and maybe getting back to like 35%. I'm not expecting some like huge jump.
Okay.
But if he can,
He's working with Chip too.
okay, great. Trey Mann, Michele, you have to admit you like Trey Mann. You think he's
I
going to
have a
be
bold
good.
take on him. So
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so he's shooting. We're going to have Mike Muscala. JRE shot 35% last year. Kenrich 2 years ago shot 40%. I'm just saying a lot of things went wrong last year in terms of OKC shooting. A lot did. I think
I like that you are purposely missing to mention that Giddy will take 5 or 6 threes per game and will be below 30 again.
Michele, I don't know if you heard that he is working out with Chip England 2 to 3
I
times
know.
per day.
I think that he will be better than last season. Still like
I did-
around or below 30.
I didn't even mention J-Dub, another guy who we think should be a shooter. And you know what? Let's throw Usman.
Yeah, I
Jang
have a
in there.
battle with Andrew about that.
Hey, Usman in there. Let's get some
Okay.
Usman takes.
At the very least, you guys at least know now what a Packy one-chip challenge spicy bold take requires.
That is bold. That
You know what's crazy though?
Yeah,
Do you know what the actual percentage would be? It's going from like 32% to 35% as a team.
Yeah.
And that's a huge jump.
big
I
jump.
know, but it's not that big.
Oh, yes, it is.
I think you can also, what makes this not as difficult to get to is just Shea, right?
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Interesting.
Shea going from 30% to 36% would make a big difference.
Yes.
Okay, well, you guys already said it was Packy, so
Here's your
don't take it back.
No, it still is. It
Okay,
still
good.
is. They were one of the worst shooting teams with Shea shooting 42% from 3. So
Yeah, but that was with Bays shooting like over 5 per game.
why
By
would
the end
per game this year?
because by the end of last season he wasn't. He
And
was
also-
not taking threes the way he was.
So are you buying that the number 55 means that he's taking shots near the rim now? Because that's the number of a big man.
Is that why he picked it? I would love if that was actually the reason why he picked that number.
Why else would you change your number to 55? It's like it's time
It's,
for a
it's
change.
kind of a cool number.
Is it?
It's a little cool.
Who's been 55 in the league that you're like, man, that's cool. I need to be like that. Be like that guy.
It sounds like something Rodman would have worn.
Yeah.
I don't think he was 55 ever. Okay, Michele, I want to make sure you get all your bold takes before
Kemba
you
Mutombo.
have to leave. Oh, there you go, right there.
Hibbert. Like, I'm making the case here. This is a big man's number.
This is good. Those guys don't take threes.
Each one.
So I have to read my notes and like probably adding a few things here and there. Otherwise, I'm going to be too lukewarm, even for my tastes. Trey Mann will average 16 points per game and will chuck at least 6.5 threes per game.
Ooh, okay, 6.5 is not that spicy. 16 is pretty spicy.
7? Let's push it to 7. Come on.
He took 4.5 last year.
Yeah,
He's just playing more minutes. If he's his per 36, which he's not going to play 36 minutes, is 7.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that 6.5 is actually difficult for him because I think that the role he played last season was kind of different from the one that he will play this season to a certain degree. But I think that he will play close to 30 minutes. This is my take. In order to be a 16 points per game scorer, he has to be around that and be more efficient, way more efficient than what he was.
Yeah. 16 points is a lot. That's some big expectations for him. There hadn't been that many players to score 16 or more points for the Thunder. I mean, it was Shea and Lou Dort last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the year before that, Shea was the only guy to score 16 or more points per game.
That was a weird team.
Yeah. 1920, there were several actually. Gallo, Schroeder, Chris Paul, Shea, all scored 16 or more points per game, but that was a weird team.
I had 15 typed, but you would have killed me if I said 15.
Yeah.
He would have killed you.
Dead right now.
Yeah.
Those Paul George teams I think Melo scored more than 16 points per game, but it was like Paul George and Westbrook were the only guys that were doing it. It's a tough thing to do. So I'll commend you. Yeah, Carmelo Anthony scored 16 points per game. That's what he was at. So that'd be great. That would be a giant step for Trey Mann. That would mean Trey Mann is getting talked about on national podcasts as a guy who has improved.
Bold enough or stupid enough?
It's bold. I think that is a one Pocky chip bold.
Wow. Okay. Well, I see that bold take, and I raise it this one.
Mm-hmm.
SGA will be the only Thunder player to score more than 15 points per game.
The only one.
The only one.
Okay.
Now you might be saying to yourself, "Oh, that sounds pretty bold." Is it? The only other player who did it last year was Lou Dort, who averaged 17 a game. Yeah. I'm betting on there being more scorers on this team now, both with Trey Mann playing more minutes and with J-Dub and Giddey potentially taking more scoring. I could see them having like 4 guys all within 12 to 14 points per game, and Shea being the lone guy out there at 25 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is jalapeno. This is the most likely scenario.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah, that's not bold.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, that's not bold at all.
I'm betting on Lou being a little less.
Lukewarm take is what that is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so rude. No, there's the people in the chat are saying, wow, boldest take I've ever heard. All Thunder fans think that all these guys are going to score like 20 points per game. People think Lou Dort's going to be scoring 20 points per game.
He might on a night or two.
Right. Levy in the chat says the white chocolate Jason Williams wore 55.
On the three-headed monsters.
Zach Wilkerson says it's not even a jalapeno. It's a bell pepper.
Oh my gosh. You know what?
It is.
Wah, wah, wah.
All right. But hey, remember when I said that they were going to be top half in 3-point percentage?
Boom!
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Can I have a very stupid take?
Yes.
League wide. This is going to be so stupid.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook will have a borderline all-star year. Okay.
Are you
Hear
just
me
like,
out.
are you just, is this for the retweets? Like, what's this for?
Yeah, what are you trying to do here?
So, as you know,
You're trying to do 3-cone numbers over here.
No, I'm just trying
Let's
to
just
put in a
talk about it.
So I hate narratives that are built for borderline no reason, about the fact that Russell Westbrook was the reason why the Lakers were failing. We all know that Russ needs a specific setting to be effective. That if you put non-shooting players around him, and especially non-shooting centers, you're making life extremely hard for him, especially at this stage in his career. And so I checked all the lineups data for LA. And yes, when Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Russ were playing together, those lineups were not so great. But the point is, most of those lineups had either Dwight Howard or DeAndre Jordan on the floor, which is exactly what you'd want to avoid. And the Lakers seem to be aware of that. They signed a center that will likely play very few minutes in Thomas Bryant and has like the exact trait that Russ need, a pick and pop player. So if you remove the lineups where he had a non-shooting center, Russ was actually positive when paired with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and not like by a slim margin. It was like +5, +6. So I think that he can function in an offense that doesn't have traditional centers. And also, if you look at the efficiency and raw numbers, it's just like a normal Russ season. It's not that different from the year that he had in Washington, nor in Houston. In Houston, he was way more efficient, but we all know why. And I think that the Lakers have recognized that and said, okay, let's see. I know that a lot of was made of Pat Beverly and Dennis Schroeder, but still, Russ was functioning with more playmakers. That is not the issue. The issue is the center position and the spacing on the court. So I really think that next year, Russell Westbrook can have a bounce back year, which will not be, hey, he's worth 45 millions, but that will grant him a new contract somewhere.
Wow.
End of my explanation.
I don't believe it. I don't believe one word of it. But
It's pretty bold.
yeah, it's pretty bold. I don't believe it at all, though.
Wow.
We'll see.
Andrew,
I'm
you got to
willing to bet on this for real, but I would maybe a borderline all-star is in the bold take spirit, but
Yeah.
I think that he will be better this year.
Andrew, you should cut this part for the clip for the podcast. So it's plastered all over Twitter, and Mikey gets retweeted, and he just gets cemented with this take of being like the ultimate Russ stan. Wouldn't that be great?
That's great. Let's do that. Yeah, let's make it happen. Russ stands get the retweets. Let's do it. Okay. I'll give you a bold take. I think Poku's going to shoot 39% from 3 this year.
That's just stupid.
Okay.
I believe in Poku. He looks stronger. He looks sturdier. What do you mean? What are you
He
pushing?
looks sturdier?
He does.
What does that have to do with anything?
Everything.
Did you push him?
Push him? No, I didn't push him. I did see him strolling down the hallway though, and he looked pretty darn sturdy strolling down the hallway. I'm a believer.
How that correlates with 3-point percentage?
I just think he'll get on the court. I think he'll shoot the ball well. I just think he'll shoot the ball well.
Is this related
sturdy.
to that video where he was nailing 100% of his threes?
It's not
single
actually.
three?
No. This is a bold prediction. It's bold, but I believe that Poku is going to establish himself as a real player in the NBA this year.
Well, that's a different take. For your first take, the one that you're going with, I'm giving that a snorting Packy chip.
Yeah, 39%. I mean,
Well,
that'd be pretty
certainly
awesome.
bold.
Yeah, it's
39
bold.
seems like I would say a bold prediction for Poku is shooting like 35%. That is quite bold.
Yeah,
That is already like habanero or something.
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
if you had gone,
I was gonna go there. That just feels more realistic. That feels like a realistic number to get to.
No, not really. Like, would you say the same for Bays? No. Like,
I'm more of a
yeah,
believer in
it may
Poku than I am
happen.
Paisley. I'm more of a believer.
yeah, Bays
Okay.
isn't as sturdy.
But
Actually,
I
Bays
mean,
is quite
if
sturdy.
Poku, by the way,
Quite sturdy.
Paisley has great kicks. I mean, I want those.
Yeah.
But 30, if you say 35 for Poku, that changes everything for him.
Mhm.
Like even being league wide good from 3.
That's why 39 is going to be even more awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Sure.
Um,
I'm willing to bet against that. The same pizza that we are betting for the past 2
Yeah, I'm
years,
not willing to bet
and
that.
you're
I'm
still
not willing
owing
to
me.
bet it. I'm not willing to bet it. I just
Okay.
have some, if you're believing in Poku, it just comes from a place of just absolute like whimsical mystery. Like it's not like a place of rational thought. Like you can never, like if you're going to go bold on a Poku take, you can't just be like, yeah, I predict he's going to be just some random average player.
Yeah, you're right. It's like
Either
predicting
he
your
is gonna
kids will be
flame out-
astronauts.
Either he's going to flame out or he's going to be incredible. I don't know that there's anything in between for Poku.
Really?
What's more likely? He shoots 39% from 3, or he has a 5x5 game.
39% from 3.
Hmm.
I don't know that he can get 5 steals.
He is pretty sturdy though.
He's quite sturdy.
Okay,
See- I think he can be a role player though. I don't think that there is just stardom or being out of the league. I think that Poku, what he's shown last, I know that this like again ruins the momentum of the bold takes, but I think that Poku can be useful playing 18 minutes per game and being a good defender. I don't know why nobody talks about the fact that when he's on the court, the defense is actually better by a lot of metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually, you can see it on the court, like the fact that he has these long arms and he's able to move his feet quite well. So if he becomes like a normal 3-point shooter, that is a helpful player that will have a second contract and not a bad one. Like I know that we think of Poku like this kid that can do everything, and so he needs to be a star to be worthy of the 16th pick. I think that he can. Maybe this is this season where he finds his role, and is just overall a well-rounded player that can do magical stuff or just being normal.
Yeah. I think I believe my Poku take like 7%, but at least I like that 7% of me like really
7
believes it.
That is a huge number.
93% of me is like, what are you doing? Stop. Don't do this.
Yeah. Those numbers.
But yeah. Gotta go bold.
I have some league wide ones. I'll just run through these real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas Mavericks playing team. Get them out of here.
Yeah.
Starting from less bold to more bold.
Yeah. That's
Next,
bell pepper.
I've already said it. Minnesota will be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. We've gone over that.
Quite spicy. Yes.
And my final bold prediction is that Dwayne Casey will be the first coach to be fired.
Oh.
Okay.
And
that is nice.
I'm basing that on them having to integrate 2 high-profile rookies who happen to be like one of the youngest players, if not the youngest player in that draft class.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other guy, like even people who like Jaden Ivey, like acknowledge that it's probably going to take a few years for him to like reach superstardom.
Yeah.
They're integrating both of those guys, probably playing them hopefully like 25 to 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, they got Bogdanovich. Congratulations. I think that's great for those guys' development, but I don't think it really matters for how many games they're going to win.
They had
And
Grant, who's probably a better player than Bogdan. So
yes. And I was looking at their schedule. They have one of the tougher early season schedules. So we mentioned that they're now in year 4. They've won 63 games total the last 3 years. They're now in year 4 of their tank job. They have a lot more pressure. They have an over-under of 29.5 for some reason, which is more than any of these other bad teams. Everyone is expecting them to be the best of these bad teams. If they got off to a bad start, and we're now in you're year 5 of Dwayne Casey.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're going to make a move because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of internal pressure at that point. Are they really going to be a 20-win team again?
And
So I think,
yeah.
so that's why that is my bold take. Dwayne Casey, first coach fired.
If we're being honest, too, is Dwayne Casey the coach that you want this team to have whenever you're like pushing for the playoffs and like trying to win playoff
Probably not.
games and like trying to get to the top of the East? I just don't think so. I think that he's done a good job with like just managing personalities and like being part of like the face of that team. But like now they have an actual face of the team in Cade Cunningham. Like go get him a coach. Go get him a different coach, whether it's like a young up and coming coach or you hire somebody else. Like go get. I think they should fire him. I think they should go get somebody else. But
yeah, it's not the coach that the GM picked, so that is part of the deal.
Any other bold takes?
Yeah, I have 3. I don't know how bold. One is reality. So Miles Turner, this is probably the least interesting, will get traded, and the Pacers will be the worst team in the league. And also, he will be traded to Charlotte for Mark Williams, someone, and a pick, like Gordon Hayward and a pick.
Okay.
This is just reality. I mean, I believe it.
Pepper. That feels like something that could happen tomorrow. Yeah.
Except for the fact that Miles Turner never gets traded. So actually saying he is going to get traded is the spicy thing to do.
No,
but saying Miles Turner is going to be traded on a podcast is like a tradition for every NBA podcast right now.
Yeah, exactly. But I was scrolling through the things that the roster and said, no, they should move him. Oh, here he makes sense. So that Charlotte can be like bad, but not the worst team in the league, which they should be. Portland will flame out in the play-in again, or something like that. I don't see.
Bell pepper.
I don't see it. I mean, I think that they are the likeliest candidate to just miss the plane entirely. I don't trust the roster.
Doing predictions now.
I'm doing prediction. I mean, everyone seems to have Portland around 40 wins. I don't think that they can get there. I think that they will be low 30, something like that.
Really?
Like, the roster is terrible. Yeah, they have Dame. They have Grant. But you can say that they are not terribly better than last year.
You think the Kings are better? That's what you're trying to say.
Oh.
They might. I just don't trust Portland.
Do you think the Kings can win 44 games?
Yeah.
No, 44. It's too much. I think 36.
43.
You're saying you turn a bell pepper take into a bold take. You say the Kings are going to be better than the Blazers.
No, but that is what I mean. I mean, it's. I think that if you remove the tanking teams, Portland is just above them.
I don't feel that way, but so I would consider that boldish. I'd put it whatever the middle one is.
Yeah, I think that this is this is a season where everyone will talk about Dame moving on, because it will not work. And the final take, I don't know how bold it is. I think that the narrative will help this, but Jason Tatum will win MVP.
Oh, okay. That's pretty bold considering all the
everything
turmoil
that's happened.
I think that will actually be part of the reason why.
Yeah, it could go in his favor because if they're still good,
he will have an unbelievable season, like 30 points per game and stuff like that. I think that it can happen, and I mean I think it's bold because there are a lot of narratives that can go well this season, like for other players, for Embiid. But But the fact that they have so much going on, and it's like it's not their fault, it's not the player's fault, that maybe he'll get the push for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Al, you got any other takes?
Nope. Used them all up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we will have bold predictions part 2 actually airing tomorrow night. Another night pod. My pod
Whoa.
is going to be on a Thursday
Wow.
night. So prepare yourselves for that. Thanks so much for watching on YouTube. If you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go do that. You can listen to all the Media Day interviews on YouTube. You can also follow along with us here as we record these podcasts live, which is super fun. So please subscribe to our channel. Go leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You guys have a great rest of your night. And we'll talk to you guys again on Thursday.